All right, what's going on, guys? I've been meaning to make this video for a while now. I will be redesigning some of my students' logos using Vectornator on the iPad. Now, I would usually be redesigning or designing it at all in Adobe Illustrator, usually on a desktop or a PC. All my students are on iPads right now for remote and hybrid learning, so we're going to be on the iPad, and Vectornator is a free iPad app that we all have access to. So look forward to Illustrator iPad tutorials soon. For now, I'm going to keep using Vectornator. iPad 6th generation. It's going to like freeze up on me a lot because Vectornator is giving me a real hard time. Felt tip stylus, no Apple Pencil, no pressure sensitivity, no iPad Pro. Let's get into it. So all of these students volunteered as tribute for me to open up their work and design it for a YouTube video. Now, handful in here. I'm only probably going to design like 2 or 3 for this video. Might make more videos, might do more videos like this, depending on how this goes. I've got a handful in here, varied rates of completion. Like here's Raina, who looks very complete. Here's Lennox's, who looks like he saw what he needed to do, he didn't finish it. And then here's Jesse, who Jesse stayed in the sketching phase, which is a good place to be, but I think I'm going to take one of these sketches and push it a little bit further. And yeah, let's start with Jesse's. Cool. So looking at all of these, this was probably done in either Procreate, Sketchbook, whatever digital sketching app. Always sketch your stuff first, right? Like just plan out ideas. Now, some of these ideas I don't think would look good as logos. The box with the little character in it, it's a cool idea. It's a lot of detail, a lot of content to fit in a logo, right? A logo's got to look good, really big with a lot of detail. A logo's got to look really small, like on a thumbnail on Instagram or something like that, right? So if I'm looking at them, some of them are interesting, like they are really simple with like a simple letter and a shape. Some like using the negative space and stuff like that. I'm gonna go with, I think this one. I was looking at this one earlier and it looked like a 2A at first. And I'm like, why is Jessie doing a 2A? Jesse's last name, her initials are JA. And I'm like, why does this look like a 2A? And I realized that the 2 is the J flipped upside down. It's in this kind of planet-looking shape. This is what I'm going to go with. So here's what I'm going to do. I will crop this image down and then place it in a Vectornator file, and I will start building this logo in Vectornator. And I'm not going to change too much of it. I'm just going to take a look at or kind of show how I would begin to build this in Vectornator. I'm gonna go ahead and make a new document. I'm gonna be working at 10 inches by 10 inches for now. Tell you what, let's make it a smaller size. Let's do 6 inches by 6 inches in Vectornator. It's a vector though, so it can be scaled as big as I want, as small as I want, as long as I don't like rasterize anything here. So let's go ahead and create that document, place in that image. It's going to take a little while to load some things. There we go. Plus sign, camera roll, Jesse's logo. Shrink that up. I'm going to hold down a second finger so it stays in proportion. And I'm just going to put that up there in the corner so I can look at it. There we go. Jesse's logo starts with a very simple circle. Let's go ahead and get that in there. So end of the game, the logo is going to be one color. Logos want to be one vector, one color. So it could be like black on white, white on black, blue on yellow, could be whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and just design in one color so it's easy for me to see. I'm gonna click and drag the circle. I tap and hold with the second finger to create a perfect circle, and this is where Vectornator starts to freeze on me. I just made a simple circle. I don't know why it's frozen. Maybe it's my iPad. Maybe Vectornator's a good app and it's just my iPad that's clunked up. I deleted a lot of files on here. This is gonna be happening. Let's start a rage meter as I get more and more impatient. Look, it's loaded. Here we go. So I've got a circle. The next thing that we want, obviously, is we want to get some text in there. So Jesse's got some hand-drawn text. I'm gonna go ahead and just make that big bold. Now, because I'm in Vectornator, and Vectornator doesn't have a ton of fonts on it, and I need a whole separate app to install fonts on Vectornator. I need like Fonternator or whatever they just came out with. I'm going to bypass that and just use some simple fonts whenever Vectornator loads for me here. I'm thinking like a bold, something simple. It's like a space looking font. I know that like NASA uses that, like a good old serif font. I might say for Jesse's, I'll do the JA in there. For Jesse's, let's do something a little bit more sleeker. So I'm gonna change this font to something more sans serif, something bolder. Futura could be nice for it. I say that for everything. I use Futura for everything. I need to stop. I need to branch out. Let's branch out to Avenir next. One of my other go-tos right now. Wow. Okay. I just don't have that many options in Vectorinator. So I'm going to make it a nice, big, bold, heavy font because it's a logo. It's got to stand out. I'll drop the kerning a little bit so the letters are closer to each other. And then the last thing that I want to do is, because I'm not going to change this text very much anymore, I might flip the J because that's what Jesse did. I'm going to go to my path option, and I'm going to go ahead and create outlines from text. So now I have shapes. Now I have shapes. I can go ahead and change that color to white, but what I'm eventually going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let's group these together. Or tell you what, I'm going to Boolean these together. I'm going to grab my Boolean tool and press this Unite button, so now they're one shape, right? I'm going to go ahead and grab these, use my Arrange tab, and center them. So I have that. Let's go ahead and select everything, unselect the circle, scale JA up, maybe so it like breaks a little bit there. Cool. And then what I could do is I could take JA, I could take the circle, and I could use my Boolean option and subtract front. Boom. So now this is just a red circle, right? It is a red circle, no white in there. So this isn't actually like a red and white logo. This is just a red logo, one color, easy. So now the next thing is the ring, right? We got these rings with planets because that's how that works. So ring is also a simple circle. Let's go ahead and make an ellipse an oval. An ellipse is an oval. And then I'm going to switch it. I'm going to hide the fill and reveal a stroke of the same color whenever Vectorinator doesn't freeze on me for making a circle. Okay, there it is. So Style tab. Let's go ahead and hide the fill. Reveal the stroke. It's already the same color because the color is chosen there. Let's rotate it a little bit. Place it over. I feel like the stroke is a little big for our purposes right now. I feel like the stroke is a little bit too thick. Let's drop the stroke a little bit. Okay, cool, I like it. But I have this problem where the stroke is currently in front of the text. Don't mind that one part of it that whoops, I made another circle. Let's grab my selection tool. I don't mind that the bottom or the top is in front of the text. I do mind that it's in front of both pieces. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my scissors tool. My scissors tool is the same scissors tool in Adobe Illustrator, and what that lets me do is it lets me click on any path, and I can click on any points, and that cuts into the point, that breaks the path and creates new nodes. So if I make two little incisions here, now I have two paths, right? I have the lower ring and then the upper part of the ring. When Vectorinator is no longer frozen, I will delete the part that I would not see, that I don't want. I will delete, if Vectorinator stops freezing on me, I will delete these pieces of my path. I don't know why it split it into a bunch. That was weird. So now I've got that ring, and that's looking pretty decent. You know what? I might now that I'm looking at it, I'm going to undo back a ways. And before I cut into it, I'm going to rotate it a little bit more. Jesse's got this more diagonal rotation, and I like that diagonal rotation. I like Jesse had a lot of good things happen in the sketchy phase. So I'm going to the sketching phase. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate mine a little more and then repeat that process, right? Grab my scissors tool, cut, selection tool, delete, boom, boom. And now I can change it however I want. I can rescale it up, and I like what's happening there. I do. Okay. Some other things that I could do. So I normally when you have the ring on a planet, it's got this little shadow to it. A shadow in a one color logo simply means nothing's there. It doesn't mean painting in black, right? Because it's only got to be one color. I'll show you what I mean. If I duplicate the ring, I turn on my duplicate mode, I drag it a little bit so that it completely connects with the bottom, turn off duplicate mode. I'm going to change the color to white so you can see what I mean. I'm cutting across the whole shape so that it looks like there's a shadow to the ring. Now, I don't need the whole upward curve. I just need it as it passes through the bottom, so I'll use my scissors tool again. So I'm going to grab scissors and cut, let's say here, and delete that piece. and then cut on the other side too. Scissors tool, and cut there, and delete this piece. And now, if I maybe expand it a little bit, reposition it a little bit. Nothing, whoa, nothing too much, nothing too much. It's a little bit tricky to do on an iPad, but we can do it, and we will do it. There I go. There I go. I think what I might do is I might like grab this guy and just fix it with the node selection tool. The node selection is the second arrow tool. It's been click on individual anchor points. And now I got that. So now we got to pathfind this. We got to make this all one color. Because if I select it all, right, I've got some white shapes and some black shapes. Or I have some red shapes. I've got some red shapes, and then I've got some like red strokes. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll go ahead and take my red ring. I will create outlines, or outline that from in the path tab, outline. And what that did is that created a shape out of it. So it's no longer a stroke or it's no longer a path with a stroke. It is currently a shape with a fill. And then I can go ahead and select that with my other shape and unite them together. And then what I'll do is I will outline the white stroke. So now it's a white, it's a white, not stroke, it's not a path anymore. It's a white line, a white box, right? This curving box. And then I will subtract that from the whole dang thing. So there I go. Now the whole thing, whoops. Now the whole thing is one solid red color. And that's how I would start Jesse's logo. That's how I would start to build it or conceptualize it. There's some like little things in here that I might try to get rid of. Like I might take, if I select it, I might take some of these paths and try to like trim them up, but that could be all tweaks for a later video. Let's get on to a second logo, because I don't want this to be too long. I knew that designing student logos was going to be like a whole effort. So maybe I'll start with 2 this video, and then potentially make this a running thing. I would like to do 3. We'll see. This second logo, I want to pick another like one that I felt like had a good start. Let's look at Lennox's. So Lennox, first off, for the style sheet, homie, like if we're looking at the style sheet, boy, like one, the logo at the top, like it's still in a white box that tells me that you saved like a PNG or a JPEG. It wasn't transparent. You could save it as a transparent PNG for the logo, which is what you need to do, or you could even like delete the white backgrounds from things in Photoshop, like I have taught you to do. Other videos on my channel show you how to do that as well. So the next thing that I'm worried about, like other than the fact that like I got like this RD off in the corner here, things aren't really aligned, it just doesn't feel complete, dude. The bright red, the bright red, a color that strong, that vibrant, probably shouldn't be a background color. It takes too much attention away, and it's really hard to look at when it's all one big screen. If a logo was bright red, cool, on a darker background would make a little bit more sense. So let's tone down the colors. Let's pick a simpler color scheme, or maybe have the logo be red. But then if I zoom in and look at the logo, I gotta zoom in to check this detail out. There's some cool things happening. We got this like mountainscape going on. I know he said that Red Dawn was like a rock cover band that he was playing in. We've got like this mountainscape. He's got like atmospheric perspective in there, right? Like we've got like 4 mountains that like fade as they go back into space. Then we've got the sun, and then we've got the text. Cool idea. Too much for a logo. Far too much for a logo. Like when we think of a logo, like this logo's got to look good on a poster, sure. Like printed on a poster or on a big Instagram story post, sure. And that can look good. It looks dynamic, right? But you also got to think about like how good is this logo going to look like on a tiny little like 1-inch button on a guitar strap? How good is this logo going to look like when it's shrunk down to like a thumbnail on Instagram? It's got to look good. And if I zoom out and I make that really small, it's just a lot of detail. I can kind of tell that it's mountains. I can tell that it's a circle. It almost looks like liquid in a ball there. I cannot read the text. So let's go into it, reworking it. Once again, I will go ahead and edit, crop it down, and place it into a new Vectorinator file so I can have that reference. Let's crop it down to just the white box. And already I'm thinking like what I want to do is I want to simplify it. Less is more. Less is more. When it comes to graphic design, less is more. What I mean by that, A simpler logo, a simpler design will be able to achieve more, will be able to be used in more contexts, in more situations. It will potentially in some times appeal to more people. It won't turn away so many people. Let's go ahead and make that other new 6" by 6" document. But less is more. You know, Paul Rand said that, Mies van der Rohe, Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, an architect, said that about architecture too in the 1920s. A lot of designers, long history, 100-year history of less is more. So let's simplify Lennox's logo. So let's go ahead and insert the photo. Let's scale it down, holding down one finger so it stays in proportion. Boom, and then let's do the thing. Let's start with a circle. I'm going to grab my shape tool, start with a circle, press and hold down. And then what I'll do is I will reverse it this time. I will hide the fill and show the stroke. Make sure that my stroke is the same color as the fill. So because Vectorinator's eyedropper tool doesn't work the way that Illustrator's does, I need to actually type in this number, which is a little tedious here in the year 2020. So it's AC182E. Is this crimson? AC182E, and is that deep crimson color, or at least it should be, if Vectorinator doesn't freeze on me. So what I'll do is I'm going to draw a mountainscape, and I'll explain my thought process on this of what I'm thinking. The mountains look cool. I like the mountains in this logo. Oh man, disk space is almost full. Here's where I start recording a tutorial. Okay, I just had to pause and restart the recording because my computer was running out of disk space because this video is getting long. So it sounds like we're only going to be doing these 2 logos for this video. And maybe I can look at a few others or critique a few others. I would like to do the next videos in Illustrator and give my students a preview of what we'll be using on the iPads for next semester. If Vectorinator ever loads for me, we can finish this video. So what I'm thinking for Lennox's logo, right, is to have one mountain. If less is more, let's have one good-looking mountain. Let's have some space, and having the full words "Red Dawn" in the logo itself is a little bit much. Usually, when you have the actual name, you'd have the logo and then the word Red Dawn beneath it. What I could potentially do is I could potentially do an RD in the logo. That might make a little bit more sense, or that might fit a little bit better. So let's go ahead and fill that out. I'm gonna increase the stroke width a little bit there. 15 points sounds great. And then I will use my pen tool. His mountains kind of had a rigid, a more angular aesthetic to it. So I will make my life easier with the pen tool here. Let's go ahead and make those mountains, and I'll finish the shape out because check out what I'm going to do. I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to open up Yield Boolean Options. It's the Pathfinder in Adobe Illustrator, and the one that I want to use here, check this out. I'm going to use Divide as the bottom left one, and watch what happens. Boom. Simple as that, right? Simple as that. So I'm going to go ahead and outline this so it's no longer red strokes. I'm going to press outline, and now it's red fills. It's Boolean that together, and now it is one shape. And there's the start of it. But what I want to do is I want to fill in the mountain with this red. I want to fill in this mountain with the same color here. So there's a few ways to do that. The way that I would do that is grab my pen tool and make another shape. If Vectorinator doesn't freeze on me, make another shape and Boolean them together. Simple as that, right? But for some reason, my students think that's tedious. For some reason, my students always defer back to Microsoft Paint when you could just grab the brush tool and paint things in. And I'll show you why I'm making fun of that right now. I'm mocking it right now because let me show you why it's a bad idea in Vectorinator or Illustrator or any other vector design software if it ever loads for me. There it is. So what I would recommend doing is actually using our pen tool, our tried and true, real graphic designers know, our real pen tool. And I don't even need to make curves. Look at me. I don't even need to make curves, right? And now I just have this fill, and I can Boolean them together, and boom, I got that. So let me show you what students always do instead of listening to me. Let me show you what they do. Is they do this thing where they grab the brush tool, because this is Microsoft Paint, right? And they grab the brush tool and they just start painting away. Hey, look at me. I know how to make art, guys. I'm a graphic designer, right? This is easy. Oh my God. I'm doing this all in one stroke. I'm doing this. Boom. Okay. Oh, I got a little bit of white there, so let's go ahead and just fill that in. Okay, I just did it, right? Jenner, look at me. I filled it in. Let me show you what you did wrong. Let's go ahead and select that. We can see the scribbles because it's a vector, because when we're in Adobe Illustrator, we are painting with vectors. We're drawing a shape. And why this would be bad, why you wouldn't want to do this, is because now if I change or drop anything about this, it just becomes that much more complicated. If I try to give it a stroke, it becomes that much more complicated. So what I'm going to do, if this is something that you have done with past designs, quick fix here, right? Let's go ahead and outline it, or let's go ahead. I might not even need to. I might have a hard time doing this. Let's Boolean it together, and it should, if it doesn't crash on me from being too complicated of a path, it should fill the whole thing and ignore the fact that I've got too much crazy stuff going on. Just draw shapes, guys. Let's use our old pen tool. So there's this logo, right? There's the simple mountain, kind of feeling like a Patagonia aesthetic now that I'm looking at it. Lang said his band was like this rock cover band, I think for like Green Day. So what I will do here, let's use our brush tool again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to brush tool. So I'm going to create a stencil aesthetic for this logo. I'm going to create a stencil. If you've ever cut a stencil before, you cannot cut openings in stencils because it falls apart, it falls out. So we're going to need to create these little bridges. I'll show you what I mean once Vectorinator unfreezes itself. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this, select them, and then path find, subtract. You know what, maybe I'll not make it so curvy. Maybe I'll not make it so curvy. I think that was the brush settings here. Subtract. Okay, I'm okay with that. Let's do the same thing over here. Subtract. Oh, not what I wanted. And I couldn't see it because I'm painting in another color again. So let's grab my brush tool, let's change my color. I don't know why I was doing that. I admittedly haven't given Vectorinator the patience because I am impatient. And when apps crash on me more frequently than I feel like they should, I get very impatient. So let's go ahead and subtract that. And there we go. I might tweak some more stuff with this if we open it up, and I don't need to spend the whole rest of the tutorial on that. So there's some basics. Now let's take a look at his text. So his font, he looks like he grabs this stencil drippy font from defont.com. All respects. What I'll do is, because I only have the fonts that I can work with in Vectorinator right now, I'm going to make a text box. I'm just going to do RD, the initials of the band, and let's shrink that up right there. For the font, this stencil Army style font is usually in a serif font, such as Times New Roman or whatever. I don't have a ton to work with here, so I could grab Bodoni. No, that's too curly. How about Georgia? Georgia looks a little bit better. So what I'll do then is I will drop the kerning a little bit so the letters are closer together. I will expand or create outlines from text, so now it's no longer letters. I can't change what it says. Thank God I spelled it right. But they're shapes, so I can path find them together. I'll go ahead and Boolean them together so it's one shape. And then what I'll do to make the stencil aesthetic is you just gotta create lines, because that space in the D and the space in the R wouldn't be able to be there. So what we can do then is I can make a rectangle. I'll make it another color so I can see it. Tell you what, I'll make it white so it looks like it'll actually look like. And I'm going to subtract it. So let's make it white. Let's find a place for it to live. Right there is great. And let's go ahead and grab our Boolean function and subtract it. I got to I thought I would need to reunite that, but let's do the same thing with the R. Now, something cool that I saw with Linux's design is that the font has like an X through the R instead. So let's go ahead and make that happen. Let's whoops, I had to unselect the shape tool. Okay, go forward. There it is. Let's go ahead and make that happen. Let's turn on duplicate, turn on rotate again, and then, whoops, I said turn on duplicate. Oh man, Vectornator. Whoa, it's like rotating around a different point. I feel like I could have prevented this if only I had more patience. There we go. There's an X. Let's go ahead and Boolean that together, and then what I will do is I will put that over the R, and then subtract it. There it is. And now I've got the edgy looking RD. And let's go ahead and duplicate that, because that could be a logo on its own. That could absolutely be a logo on its own. But I think if I was going to put it in the logo, we could definitely just like put it in there somewhere. Maybe even try to match the angle of the mountain a little bit. Anytime I'm scaling, I'm holding down with a second finger so that it stays in proportion. That's very important. Very important. But there I go. I've got the a little bit like more logo style of what Linux put together for this. Now, like, this could be the start of, you know, an album cover or a like t-shirt for the band, you know, some other kind of merchandise, a little bit more detailed. But as far as a logo goes, it's got to be simple shapes, right? So that's a good start. Now, this video is going to be clocking in pretty long. I would love to get into the other logos. I wanted to at least start this in Vectornator to show how I would be building and using these tools in Vectornator. Though for some of these other ones, I might jump into Illustrator just so that my like rage meter doesn't keep increasing and I don't like throw my iPad out the window or something like that. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this shows a little bit more of like where my process, where my mindset goes, thinking through building a logo or using the tools in Vectornator to build these logos. Yeah, I would love to do more videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching.